Book reviews. Is that actually what we've come to? Well, in this case, I think yes. And I think I'm going to call this a series of books for boys. And the fact is, I think each and every one of us has a handful of books that we can remember since we were little kids and that potentially changed our lives, hopefully for the better. And I can remember the first time I read Bulldozer by Meader. You know, reading didn't necessarily come naturally to me, and I found myself unenthusiastic. And I believe this book came from my grandmother. Now, the copy I had, turns out it's an original, and according to eBay, is worth $200. Can't find it. I don't think it survived some of the moves, which is disappointing. And I had looked, I no joke, I had looked for probably 3 or 4 years. I had kept a constant alert on eBay just to kick it up anytime this book possibly came on. And I finally found that they're being reprinted by a small publishing company, Southern Skies, LLC. So, Southern Skies Limited. What I always liked about this, and without too much of a spoiler alert, it's a story of some young boys who find a sunken tractor. They purchase the rights for salvage, and then a young man rebuilds it and builds his own business off of this. And that's kind of a common theme in the Meader books. They're from a different time period. They're from a time period where a young man went to college, or went to high school rather, and started his career. So in some regards, they may be a touch dated, but in other regards, they're exactly the kinds of lessons that you want young men to know today. Hard work breeds success, that obstacles are not something that you give up on, they're something that you overcome, that you fight through. A very common theme. And it would appeal to, that 8, 9-year-old boy who is not interested in reading, but is fascinated by things mechanical. A touch of adventure, a touch of, just good old-fashioned life lessons about the importance of keeping good bank account records and the importance of just good old-fashioned hard work. And so, this is one of those books that really stuck with me from my childhood. And I was tickled to death when I found it from Southern Skies so that I could read it to my little boy. And be honest, at 5.5, he's too young. We lose interest unless it's talking about the bulldozer pushing things or trees being cut down. He loses interest. But whatever. It was almost more for Daddy than it was for him, because it had been the first time in 20 years that I'd read it. So if you're looking for a book that maybe would inspire a preteen boy, a boy who does not necessarily think that good things can come from the covers. I'm not going to say that I learned to read from this book, but there are about 3 books in my life that helped me learn to love reading. And this is one of them. So anyways, I highly recommend this. If you have an original copy, you should take care of it because it's quite expensive. But yeah, Southern Skies Publishing is where you can pick these up. And I believe I paid $15, so it's a very, very reasonable reproduction there. I got a bit of a bad copy in that I have a whole bunch of loose pages. You can see that it just something slipped in the printing process, and I've written Southern Skies, but the fact is, for the effort I put into finding the book and how much I recommend the book, I'll be quite content with loose pages at this point. I'm just tickled to death to have found what is truly an old friend once again. That's a big recommend. Self-sufficiency, hard work, don't give up, take responsibility, and earn your way through life. They're all life lessons a young man needs to know. And if you can teach those life lessons around a story of a bulldozer, well, that's even cooler.